The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Cowboys Break. Football is one step closer. Time is moving and it's moving fast. OTAs have started this week. It started yesterday, but today is the first time that the media gets to see the whole team come together where the rookies merge with the veterans and see how that looks. But before we get into OTAs and all that, I just wanted to clear things up. Well, try to clear things up with Ezekiel Elliott and what happened with him and the incident in Las Vegas, because a lot of people are asking what's going on here, what's going to happen with him, and wanted to get an update from you guys if there is an update.
Well, we probably made ourselves look like fools 2 years ago trying to predict what was going to happen with Zeke in a situation like that. He was not arrested. He was not charged with anything. Stephen Jones made that pretty clear on Monday afternoon after that news surfaced. The video's on Twitter. I bet you've seen it if you're listening to this. It doesn't look like a ton in terms of, legal issues or criminal issues. But I'm hesitant to try to predict what the NFL is going to do with disciplinary matters at this point. After everything that I've seen in my time doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look that bad. Having the elbow out didn't help. That's the only thing that I saw was the elbow was out. But really what I take from this is it's probably, I know you're right about being hesitant on this, it's probably going to be okay for Zeke. I don't think it helps Crawford at all, because I think when you look, now you're looking at videos to compare Tyrone Crawford's, that video is way worse. And in terms of...
And it draws more attention to the Cowboys as a team. It's like, okay, what's going on?
So I actually talked to Tyrone over the weekend, and he said he felt like he was okay legally, but again, you don't know. NFL-wise, he was, probably concerned by that. For missing a game or two or whatever.
I would agree with that.
So, and I just don't think, and maybe and I'm sure the NFL or anybody would be like, no two things are the same. But I think that they are in terms of, okay, this one, it's Zeke, and here he is again. But I don't think it's just enough to
it doesn't look like enough. And, there's...
you don't know what was said, right?
Right. No, he said something about why are you in my face or something like that, and the guy, looked like a flop to me. But again, also
nothing really happened. Like he barely touched him with an elbow, and he just fell back.
I will say this: the video doesn't necessarily tell the whole story. I hesitate to just have this ridiculously strong take just based on 40 seconds of video that I saw and I wasn't there. It doesn't look like enough based on what's there, but again, Roger Goodell is the only guy that has to have an opinion about this to change that conversation real quick.
What Zeke did last year as far as coming back and playing, from the suspension and kind of, I don't know about turning things around, but he definitely, had less incidents like that. He showed a lot of signs of maturity, and he still does, but the problem that I have is it's not so much that night, it's the next day. Like that's, again, if I'm being honest, I have a problem with that, of him having a camp the next day and treating it like, it should be like a game.
But he made it, right? He made it in.
Yeah, but if the timeline of events is as described, he was doing stuff in Las Vegas at 3 a.m. and then was here at the Star doing a camp less than 12 hours later?
Right. I just, that's
not a great
the only
look.
thing that
it's not a great look, it's you do whatever you want the night before,
He didn't do anything wrong, but I agree with Nick that it's not an awesome look in my opinion.
Yeah, just from, and you think about it from parents that pay their
kids
money
are paying
kids
good money to get taught
to go there
by a Pro Bowl
and
running back.
Again, you don't want to speculate, and we're kind of getting a little close for that, but at 3 a.m. All I know is that usually if I'm out at 3 a.m., I'm probably not ready to go to work.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so now by 12, whatever. And I think everything's going to be fine there, but it's a little setback.
Did one of you guys go to the camp?
Not that one. I didn't go to that one. I went to the DAC one later.
So
on.
we don't really know how it turned out with him or how much
That's fair.
How he acted, his participation, because if he was able to participate enough, then it doesn't really matter.
I've been to work with a hangover before. I cannot
went to the
throw
Ranger
stones.
game last night. Was that?
I drank-
or was it the
No.
Mariners game?
It was a Mariners game. They lost. It was a very tame night. I'm not hungover right now.
Do you think Zeke does this more than
All right.
we know about too? Like, think he's used to this kind of thing?
I mean,
Staying out, coming to work, being a running back.
It's
He's
pretty
very young.
He's 23 years old. We know. I mean, he likes to have fun, and that's his right. I mean, a lot of these guys do. They take trips all the time. I don't have a single problem with that. Goodness gracious, especially not in the off season. I mean, that's what you should be doing if you're 23 and have the type of money that pro football players have.
And we talk about this all the time, though. The whole fact that this is the situation, what we saw, it's something that people do. Young people do that and go through those scenarios and stuff, but it just brings more light to him
it's
because
tough.
of his.
It's tough because you want to be like, well, you shouldn't be in those types of situations. It's like,
We've all been there.
Yeah,
I
agree.
have been there a million times.
I agree. All of that is right. It's just that you had a really big work day the next
day.
morning, and that's the thing. That's my only issue with it. Again, and he has to realize that everyone's got a phone. Everyone's showing. Especially
It sucks.
If you're gonna wear a LeBron James jersey like that. I mean, really, who's gonna wear a jersey like that?
Yeah, who would ever do that? I don't know. It sucks.
Dave.
I mean,
we had the camera on you that day too.
the rules are different. The rules are different when you're Zeke Elliott, and it's not necessarily fair to him, but.
So what were some of the things that
Comes with
Stephen
the territory.
Jones said?
He really
about
didn't
it?
say a whole lot. He said we're still gathering information. He's right, which maybe we should listen to him. He said it's unfair to really comment on it beyond the fact that we're still learning about it. This was Monday, so I'd assume they've got a pretty clear picture by now. I'm sure Jason Garrett will talk about it later today. Zeke may talk about it himself. We'll see. The locker room's going to be open today. Not sure. It doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it definitely is kind of a hiccup in what had been a very, feel-good offseason for him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, moving on to OTAs that started yesterday. Obviously, this is far away from real football, and we always talk about it, and it's not that exciting. But the media is out there, and we get to watch some of the things that happen there. I wanted to get each of your opinion on, what are some of the things that you're looking for today, and, what to watch for during this first practice that we get to see.
Even though you're not above doing it, I'll do it for you. Plug your article for yesterday. Dave wrote an article about 5 things to really watch. So let me.
I was kind of struggling by the end of it, to be honest with you, though.
Come up with 5.
By the time I got to number 5, I was like,
just because, and it's probably because what she just said. You know that it's not
right.
real. You're not really going to be able to see if Connor McGovern can block.
Right. I don't want to.
O-line.
I could write 20 things, but I want to try to be as honest as possible.
What was one?
Number 1 for me was just that this will be the first chance we get to see the offense under Kellen Moore, and air quotes, big time, because not really, but I mean, it's still, it's stuff that he's installing. It's stuff that they're going to use under him. I don't expect to see anything, juicy, but it's still get some sort of look at what he's trying to install and what they're trying to look like.
Yeah. For me, and I think this was on your list too. I just want to see how we line up on offense, the offensive line.
Yeah.
First and second teams. You just what are we starting with here? Where's Frederick? Is he right there at the center spot? And no issues there. Where's McGovern? Where's Suafilo, Looney? Those guys like that. Just how it all shakes out to start with, and then it's all subject to change, especially with injuries and stuff like that. Just want to kind of see where they have these guys.
That was my number 4, I think. I mean, Frederick is expected to be limited, so don't know how much you'll see of him. McGovern can play center, and I expect them to work him there a little bit in the next month. Lyle Collins had a surgery that he's still coming back from, so that should be an opportunity for Cam Fleming.
Yeah.
Maybe Connor Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it looks based, which we even though we work here, we didn't get to go to yesterday's OTA. But based on photos and stuff, it looked like he was the first string left guard. So I don't know about that. Yeah, Connor was. So I don't know about that. Yeah, I know. I
Now
swear,
you got to start calling them by last name.
they do this stuff on purpose. Is like they get as many similar names as they can. So I don't know if that'll happen, but there should be some shifting and some different stuff they can try out that should be fun there.
One other one for me is, again, you're not going to see a lot of it. Just about them tackling or anything like that, but I do want to kind of see the Sean Lee, in the Sam position, see what's going to happen there. If he's going to be, I mean, it sounds like he's going to be the starting strong side linebacker. You can definitely tell in the offseason that he has changed his physique a little bit. His upper body looks very noticeable that he's gotten bigger there. So I'm anxious to see how that plays out. And if he can play that position, I mean, you can get those three linebackers on the field. I know they say they don't play base a lot, but they might play it more if Sean Lee's there.
I don't even want to talk about this injury-wise because
it's a great lead-in.
No. But people mention it all the time, injuries and how these, let's say, hamstring injuries happen a lot during this time, and what it could possibly mean for a guy like Sean Lee who is trying to get back. It is known his past record of injuries. What if something like that happens during this time?
See, that's why I think it's a real interesting move. They typically, the strong side linebacker plays about 20%. 25% of the snaps, and the way the system is now, when it's Damian Wilson or give me some other names that maybe.
Oh, geez.
Maybe Hitchens.
Wilbur did it for a little while.
I mean,
it's been Damian for the last 4 years,
and he doesn't play a whole lot. So
Andrew Gashkar.
Oh,
no,
wow,
not Taco.
So if it's not, so if he's not out there, it's something that they're used to playing with. So it's kind of a good situation. It's almost like win-win. Like if he's out there and he's healthy, they can do some different things. If not, it's not going to be much different than what they've done in the past.
Which that also speaks to, and it's exciting because they're back on the field, but it's May, and they'll probably limit what a lot of those guys do for that very reason is, not to set them back to the point where they might not be ready for training camp. That's another thing is, don't expect to see a lot of DeMarcus Lawrence. We know, now you can do the taco drop because he's probably not going to do a lot.
Taco.
There we go. He just had an ankle surgery. So I expect to see a lot of young guys. Like I said, Connor McGovern should get a lot of work at center if Travis Frederick is limited. So I think there should be some cool opportunities there for some rookies.
Mickey actually wrote an article about nine guys that were on have surgeries that aren't going to be participating here. I didn't really, you hear one or two here and you're thinking, I would have thought 4 to 5. And then you really break it down to the Cedric Wilsons and all that.
Like I said, Lyle Collins had something done. A lot of these happened a while ago, but again, why risk anything? Antoine Woods had a shoulder surgery. Byron Jones, we're not going to see Byron. So there's an opportunity for some of your young corners right there.
You think we'll see Woods? Antoine Woods?
I would expect so because he had his surgery in January.
See, and that's why what's interesting about that for me is it's really the same surgery as what DeMarcus Lawrence had. And so you want to see when he came back and he actually was fortunate to have it right when the season's over.
Yeah.
Is it, where's this going to play? Because you go back to that first game against the Giants and you think, I think we talked about this last week. Who from the defensive line are you sure is going to be there? I mean, do you know D-Law will be there? Maybe. Randy Gregory, there's no way you can even predict that, and all signs would point to probably not. Tyrone Crawford, probably not. Maybe. Yeah. So you look at the defensive end, that's three guys there.
Jalen
Jelks and those guys, Joe Jackson,
Dorrance Armstrong.
Yeah, I mean
although
this happens every year.
Don't forget Quinn though, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean Robert Quinn for sure, and I'm just saying, and this team has gotten really good at saying, okay, well these players will play week 1 because we have a defensive starter that's going to be suspended. I mean, what are we at 6 years in a row now? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's certainly
go all
since
the way
14.
back to the Rolando McClains and D-Law, Scandrick,
D-Law, David Irving,
Gregory,
long list.
Gregory,
Right.
Brandon Carr.
No,
Claiborne,
hey,
Orlando Scandrick.
Hey, don't.
Start listing.
My man B. Card never missed games.
No, it's really interesting. I mean, usually when you look at this,
I can't hear that. I just kind of can hear a little bit.
I forgot you're not wearing your headphones.
Yeah, but I kind of could hear a little. Did he say Brandon Carr?
He said Carr, Claiborne, and Scandrick.
Nice.
Anyway,
where are those headphones?
Well, they don't really go to that one. I'm waiting on Derek to come in.
I was just gonna say it's really interesting because at first your initial thought is to get kind of freaked out when you see this type of list of injured guys and are recovering and all that stuff. But what that does, it allows to create opportunities for these other guys and allows the Cowboys to prepare this early on for when the season starts and kind of figure out who the backup guys will be and earn the spot.
Yeah, and I mean it starts this month. Although again, why do I always apologize for sounding like a wet blanket? Like that's what I do. But I just remember last year, Jihad Ward looked great, and he was like he was a starter on the D line because Malik Collins was out, and people were real high on him, and it clearly didn't work out. Dayton Jones was another one. He didn't play a game in the regular season. That was more because of injury than anything, but. It's going to change big time between what we see without pads here in May and, what the team actually does on roster cut day.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll keep discussing OTAs and everything that's going on around the Cowboys.
While a player can look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeeredealer.com/football.
Do you want the most interesting, up-to-the-minute Dallas Cowboys news straight from the Star in Frisco? How about exclusive and on command? That's right, news and nuggets you can't find anywhere else. With our exclusive Cowboys content on Alexa, you can have all the answers, secrets, stories, and more. What's Stephen Jones thinking during a game? What's Joe Looney's favorite pregame meal? We take your questions to Cowboys players and coaches, and you can hear the answers directly back to you. Just say, Alexa, open Dallas Cowboys.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10. Free shipping.
The excitement of Dallas Cowboys football is back at AT&T Stadium.
The place is going crazy in Arlington, Texas.
Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys live when they host their NFC East rivals, the Eagles, Giants, and Redskins, plus the Green Bay Packers and more.
Elliott works his way through and walks the dog.
Single game tickets are on sale now. Get them before they're gone.
First and goal, quarterback sneak. Prescott pushes up the middle. Touchdown.
Visit DallasCowboys.com to get your tickets today.
Back to the break.
Welcome back, guys. Now, we found out not too long ago that the Buccaneers released defensive tackle Gerald McCoy, and I wanted to check in with you guys if you thought that the Cowboys have any interest in bringing him back, especially after we discussed all the injuries and scenarios here.
Yeah, I think it was Adam Schefter from NFL, or where is Adam Schefter working? ESPN. Sorry. He listed the Cowboys as some potential teams that he would be, that might have some interest there. I don't think that the Cowboys have come out and said that they're, the Cowboys haven't said there's any interest. We'll see today, but I don't think you're just talking to some people that there would be. Tristin Hill, they drafted him, and they have the money for it, but I just don't see that as a guy that they would target here. Because, like I said, they have some young guys that they like there, and I think the focus would be on just so many other players that you have to sign. He's not going to get a big deal, but I just see there would probably be teams with more money with maybe a better fit for him.
I mean, it's totally conceivable that they could get outbid. He is a 6-time Pro Bowler, and it doesn't, just from being around here, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of interest. I don't really get it. I think this is the rare example of a guy that would be tailor-made to go after. He's 31 years old. He's had some injury issues that should keep his price relatively low. Tristin Hill is the only defensive tackle of significance on this team that's under contract beyond this season. And I know they always feel good about their guys. I know they love to say that, but like, which of the guys that's on this team is definitively better than a 6-time Pro Bowler right now?
Let me ask you this question, Dave. When you say go after, are you willing to go in on a multi-year deal for significant money, or when you say go after, is it if it falls to you, you make it known to him and his agent, hey, we're interested talking, but it's if the deal works that it's just a 1-year deal for relatively little money.
I wouldn't want to sign him for more than 2 years, and I wouldn't want to pay him more than even 10 sounds like a lot. Like somewhere if he wanted to sign between 6 and 9, and it's the Rappaports and the Schefters of the world have made it known like he wants to play for a contender. He wants to play for a team that can get to the playoffs. He's never been to the playoffs in 9 years in Tampa. Jeez. So it's conceivable. And from Oklahoma City, by the way, grew up a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Went to OU. Like I said, there's a lot of reasons why it sounds plausible that he might be willing to sign here on a fair deal. I don't think the Cowboys are interested. I don't really get the feeling that it would happen, but I would try to make it happen if I were them.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. This is a question of will they or should they? I think Nick was pretty clear, and I think that's everything that all of us have heard is it doesn't look like they want to. But when you talk about it from the standpoint of should they, I kind of agree with Dave that this is an opportunity if it should fall to you. If you get the money right and you can get him for a year, 2 years, then to me, he is better than right now. He is better as a 3 technique than anybody you have on your team. And I saw a fan put this out there. I'm not sure. You may know the ramifications of this, but you look at a guy like Tyrone Crawford and the amount of money that he makes. Would there be some relief if you were to release him to be able to sign a guy like that would replace at least the role of defensive tackle? Now, there is the issue of, is Crawford more of a defensive end as it currently sits? Because they got a lot of defensive tackles on this team. Defensive ends, I don't know if they got enough to start.
But see, they like having a guy like that can switch back. Right. Yeah, versatile. So Tyrone can provide that. And he's been here. And
I think they have enough ends. I don't think that they have enough ends that we just talked about that they can count on for week 1.
Right.
And that's the issue. But, yeah, I think they have plenty of defensive ends. And I don't know if they have enough tackles there, but they don't have a lot of tackles that are under contract. And
which, in a perfect world, you would sign McCoy to a 1-year deal, which that doesn't really alleviate the problem of not having any guys under contract. But he's a 2-time All-Pro. He's never had less than 6 sacks in a season
at defensive tackle. That's a big number.
How many guys on this team can say they've had 6 sacks in a season?
Yeah, and
it's like Quinn, Lawrence. And
but
I don't think anybody else
drafting Tristin Hill and should be the reason that you would consider it more than a reason that you wouldn't. He's a young guy that is he's going to be raw, obviously, and he's going to learn from Marinelli and Leon Lett. That's great, but in the trenches there, getting to learn from a guy like Gerald McCoy, I think that would be even better.
Is that a position where you would expect a quick impact that he could learn?
McCoy?
No, Tristin.
Depends.
I don't know about quick impact.
If he's the badass they make him out to be, Malik Collins stepped in and
but there's a reason why they picked him where they picked him. If this was a guy that was picked in the top 10 at defensive tackle, then yes, you would expect that he would immediately step in. Defensive tackle is not a position where he couldn't immediately step in and give you immediate production. There's a reason why he's a second-round pick.
He's gonna produce if he and this is why I think if you sign someone like a McCoy, Tristin Hill would produce even more, because if you ask him to play all these snaps in there and he has to play against the run time in and time out, he's gonna have some problems. If he can come in on nickel situations and get over that center and rush him, that's where he really is going to be effective right away. So I think the less he has to play 3 downs, I think that the better he can be, and you get some guys in here like that. But he might be better than your Antoine Woods and maybe even Malik Collins. So it's making more sense the more we keep talking about it. I don't know.
I think that's the thing, though. I think everybody that I've at least heard talk about it, I think it makes sense. I just don't think. I think the Cowboys are, at least what I think they're kind of too far down the road in their own opinions. They feel like they've already gotten that position solidified. They feel like they have quality players at the defensive tackle position, and I just don't think they're necessarily looking. Now, that doesn't mean this couldn't get fluid if he's sitting out on the market come training camp and nobody's willing to pay him, and the Cowboys then say, well, this guy's just sitting out there. We can get a really favorable deal. I know they're opportunistic, right?
I just think at some point in a span of 3 to 4 years, I mean, every few years, it's good to sit there and fold hands every now and again and play, little pots here. But every once in a while, you just want to push them in. Push all the chips into the middle and say, look, I'm all in. I'm all in on this team on this year. I got a great young team. This guy could fit. I got an offensive line that's really good. I got great skill players. Let's go get this thing.
Let me ask you this.
What would be the problem with doing that?
Let's assume what Dave said. Let's assume that they end up paying him. They want to do it. They're going to be willing to pay him $9 million over a year or 2 years, whatever. Does that affect their ability to sign some of these longer-term deals that they are talking about right now, particularly Dak, where you're talking $30 million plus?
In fact, if they sign those deals, it would be easier to get a deal like McCoy because those first couple of years aren't going to be as much. I mean, you can actually lower some of the base salaries now.
Cap hit.
I don't know about the 30. I mean, I don't know about that with Dak because there's really no way to structure it mathematically.
You can't do it with Dak, but you can certainly do it with Amari.
Because right now he's making what, less than $1 million, right?
He's making $2 million. They readjusted his
$2
salary.
million. There's no way to do this thing where he's going to average $30 million a year. And
but isn't that the point though? If now all of a sudden you're going to go from $1 million to $30 million. Do you have the room to be able to do that? Even if it's you do.
You do. And Cooper's deal. I mean, you need to get Cooper's deal done.
You can Cooper's accounting for $14 million. You could lower that to you could lower his cap hit to like $6.
Mm-hmm. And even though
and that may pay for it right there.
They have $20 million in space right now. And for the record, even if they were to sign Gerald McCoy, I wouldn't advocate cutting Tyrone Crawford. I mean, he plays it in. Keep him. He's a captain. You can worry about that next year.
Right.
Next year is a much better time to release him. I think you would save $8 or $9 million next year. This year, I think if I look at it right, I think this year is more of a wash.
You don't get anything.
It's about the same to keep him, to cut him. I don't know.
And by the way, I wasn't saying you cut him. I know I saw that on Twitter, and it made me think: would that be a swap in this instance to where what you get back would be what you'd pay out? And it didn't. I didn't really know the answer.
I don't know if that would be a better fit for you. I mean, I really don't. I know that sounds. He's 6-time Pro Bowler. I don't know if that's a better fit.
Just because of the versatility, right?
Versatility, what he brings for the team, and all that. I don't know.
I agree with you. The thing is, signing a guy like that, I don't even think of it as going all in because I think I might be wrong. I mean, he might sign somewhere for $40 million next week, and if that's the case, then I'm like, never mind.
Yeah.
Same thing with Earl Thomas. Right. When you show me the price tag and it's going that high, I'm out. But assuming you could get this guy on a reasonable deal, it's little risk with high reward. And again, these contracts are going to push you up against the cap soon. Bobby Wagner's trying to break the linebacker market. Jalen Smith sees every bit of that coming his way. You are eventually gonna be hard up against the cap. You are not right now. So why not try to maximize the next season or two where you can still get away with it?
Well, if my understanding is correct, you can actually roll over salary cap money. So if it doesn't mean you have to just go ahead and spend it this year. That means if you don't spend it this year, you actually have it for those future years.
You do. You're right, but if you could get a 6-time Pro Bowler on a manageable salary on a team that looks pretty good, it sounds smart to me.
You got Quinn on a 1-year deal. I mean, you're kind of going in already.
Yeah,
I would.
That may be their go-in player for this year.
Yeah,
they may feel like we've already done that. We're not willing to do it twice.
They traded for Quinn, and they gave a pretty decent amount of money to Randall Cobb.
The Rams never stopped. The Rams just got Sue and Donald, of course, and then they kept adding guys.
Cornerback,
But I mean, they just kept adding guys, and it helped. They were a couple plays away from winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like I said, even if
Eagles
they
did the same thing, by the way. Go ahead. Sorry.
Even if they extend Dak, let's say they extend Dak and Amari this year, they will still have 1 to 2 seasons before those hits really start to affect their cap because Amari will lower it, and Dak's big numbers won't kick in for a year or two. So you'll have the short window where you can still add talent to this roster without really having to worry about, Jalen doesn't need a new deal till 2021, yada, yada, yada. I'd say try to maximize this short little window you have before these huge contracts start coming home.
And by the way, in 2021, I think is the year that they're going to have a new CBA. So who knows what the cap's going to look like,
That's
how
true.
much money is going to be guaranteed, like they'll have to give to players. It may change everything economically. So there's a lot that would be a part of that.
I don't think they're going to do it, but I think they should.
I feel like they would, though, because look at what they have done so far. They have given so much importance during this offseason to the whole defense, during free agency, during the draft. They used a lot of their draft picks just on defense. So clearly they're trying to rebuild and reinforce and build on what they already had last year, which was pretty good. So I think they're deciding to make that final push and turn it over to hopefully an elite defense. We'll see if he gets there.
The longer he goes unsigned, the better it is probably for your hopes of it happening, because it means that the price he wants probably isn't out there.
Right.
Literally 12 hours after the Bucks cut him, they signed Sue, and I believe like his deal is worth up to $10 million, which means that's incentive based. So if you can sign Ndamukong Suh for 7 to 8, then I would think McCoy is probably similar, because they're same age range.
I think at this point, in my opinion, I think McCoy's a better player than Sue, personally. But
I'm not going to pretend to have watched tape of them. I just know that they're both pretty good. Sue, to me, is it's so obvious. Sue turned it on in the playoffs last year. Like
he's got plays when he wants to.
Yeah, he went through the motions until they got to the playoffs, and then was like, oh wait, I'm actually still really good.
And I may need to get a new contract.
Everything I've ever heard about Gerald McCoy is that he's one of the highest character players in the NFL. So
and
I don't think you'd
maybe
have to
what
worry
I'm talking about there.
I would have liked to get Sue in here, because this whole turn it on, turn it off thing. If Rod Marinelli is the guy that everyone says he is, and in the way he coaches, and we see the way he coaches,
he'll keep it on.
He'll turn it on
but
for him.
I also think that Rod Marinelli wants guys that show that propensity. At least the things I've heard about him, even during the draft process, he particularly looks for guys who are high motor guys and actually shuns guys that are not.
Motor
so
is
my thought would
everything to him.
Yeah, my thought would be he would probably be the one of the people that say we don't need to.
I think Rod would shut that down immediately. Yeah. Which, I mean,
because and for the other reasons too. He thinks Tristin Hill's that underdog type guy. He likes those guys.
He does.
Because it makes him look better if he can coach him up. You can't coach up Sue. I mean,
that's you probably can't, especially at this point in his career.
I mean, no, I'm not saying you can't coach him up, but I'm saying if he has this great year, I don't think anyone's going to be patting Rod on the back, and that's what he wants. That's what all coaches want.
I don't know about that, because I think the narrative around Sue right now is he's a guy that for the most part did not play great throughout the season last year. Played well in the playoffs, did not play great. So if Rod could get him to play with a high motor at this point in his career, I think that would be a pat on the back for Rod.
So Gerald McCoy, same thing. Is that going to fit into the?
I just think
what did he call them? I forgot.
The orphans.
The orphans.
That I'm not calling them that anymore. Even if they don't sign Gerald.
No,
McCoy.
they got players.
They put too much.
Yeah,
talent
they got players
on that line.
now. They got players.
But I think it would make the team better. And
I agree. There's
nobody that you would have to cut Gerald McCoy for that you just can't bear to part ways with. Like, I would throw him in there and be like, we're probably going to keep 4 defensive tackles, so that's 2 of them right there. Good luck.
A lot on this.
Good luck to the rest of y'all finding those 2 other roster spots.
No, Tristin Hill's going to be here.
Hill will be here, and if he were to sign, McCoy would be here, and the other guys can figure it out.
Who else is Collins, Woods?
Woods and Collins probably going to be your one techniques then.
Collins,
and then
Woods,
those other guys
Ross,
probably,
Hyder. Figure it out. Covington. Figure it out. Have fun. Yep. That's what training camp
will be fun. Yeah,
we're trying to we're trying to increase the level of competition.
And you would have just done that.
I agree.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Still don't think they'll do it. Having said all of that,
we spent a whole segment, and I don't think they're going to do it.
Well, we'll see what happens here. But now switching up things a little bit. Well, not really. Let's stay on defense. Jordan Lewis, a guy that we've talked about and how he has become kind of like the black sheep of the group and just not really being as involved just because of his size and what Chris Richard wants. I saw an interesting question from a fan about the possibility or thought of moving Jordan Lewis to the safety position and maybe trying him out there to where he can actually be on the field and do something for the Cowboys.
Skill set wise, I still think he's a better cover guy. He's never shown the ability to be a real physical player. Not that those guys are, in the safety position or lighting people up really. But I mean, I just think he is a corner. I think that's his skill set all the way. Is he a corner here? Maybe not. But there's a place for him. I mean, there really is a place for him here, and they showed it last year. I mean, kind of in spot duty. I think there's okay to have a preference, but I don't know if he's the guy that's getting pushed out the door. Like, I mean, you say that, but I mean, I haven't really seen that yet.
Yeah, and honestly,
he's not better than Cheeto or Byron Jones. So he's the third corner.
Right.
Yeah, and I think last year, in my opinion, if you want to find yourself, especially in the secondary, find yourself an MVP of that Saints game, he was it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that they used him on Kamara coming out of the backfield, I thought was really, really smart. And having that kind of depth allows you to do that. Some teams don't have that kind of depth where they could use a corner to be able to cover a running back coming out of the backfield, but they had that depth. So I think he's valuable to this team. And now, when it comes time for his contract, that's a whole different ballgame. They will figure out whether they want to keep him or not, and whether he wants to stay here or not. But the fact of the matter is, I think he still is a valuable piece in that secondary.
Well, from what we saw last year, but when you start, seeing the corners that were brought in by Chris Richard, basically, and his preferences, and when you see that whole group, then the question begins to rise even more to where does that leave Jordan Lewis, and what do you do with him?
What you said is going to be put to the test, and it'll be fascinating because we're not going to see Byron Jones until September. I won't be surprised if he misses a game. That's just me. Mm-hmm. That's conjecture for the record, but I won't be surprised. So who's going to get those reps at training camp? Cheeto will. What do you do with Anthony Brown? Mm-hmm. What about these gigantic corners that Amber just mentioned that they brought in? Where does Jordan Lewis fit in that new pecking order? Because you would think that a 3-year vet who's got starting experience would be pretty high up there. But if he's not getting reps outside over the likes of Mike Jackson, what does that say?
Yeah. No, you're right about that. And the interesting thing, too, is you start looking at down the road and we talked about corners that are going to be on this roster next year. Is Byron Jones going to be on the team next year? What about Anthony Brown?
Yep.
Anthony Brown, I have a hard time thinking he will be. So, Jordan would have that extra year. I just don't think there's any reason to just kind of fade him out. Now, you get to the end of the training camp and someone wants to throw a 4th-round pick at you to get him. Maybe.
Yeah.
Depends on how Jackson and who else are we talking about? These gigantic corner. I mean,
Mike Jackson, Chris Westry Donovan Alumba.
But that's also my point on all of that is, they brought in all these guys, but it wasn't a priority because most of those guys were either late picks or undrafted guys.
Yeah.
So they're bringing in guys because of what you said. Like, they don't have future right now at corner. A lot of the guys are going to be up on their contracts over the next couple years.
But then you don't know what Chris Richard turns them into.
Yeah, I get that, but I'll believe it when I see it that you're going to take an undrafted free agent cornerback, and this year he's going to be a guy that's going to be playing over Jordan Lewis. Maybe it happens. I'm not buying necessarily. Alumba is a nice player. He showed a little something at training camp last year. He's a practice squad guy. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I just think you just have to let's pump the brakes a little bit on that for what's going to happen this year. Maybe in the future, but what's going to happen this year, it wasn't a priority.
If Westry makes the team, then Chris Richard is even a better coach than I would even give him credit for. And the thing about it is, and there's nothing against Westry, but there's a reason why he didn't get drafted. I mean, 6'4", but he doesn't have the fluid movement hips that you would look for in a corner. Why haven't they moved him to safety? I mean, there's a reason for all that. He even says why he's not a receiver. He says he can't catch. He said it. I mean, so if he can turn him into a guy that can play corner in this league, that will be phenomenal. It's really an uphill battle for him. He looks great. Oh, look at Westry, but he should be playing safety or another position typically. So we'll see if he can make. But the guy, I think,
you still need to know how to catch playing that position.
But if you knock balls down, you get paid. If you
of course.
Byron can show you that,
To answer the question, because we didn't really Jordan's probably like 15, 20 pounds underweight for what you would want a safety to be. Like, he's like 180. His height isn't necessarily a problem, but I think his weight is, especially because what we keep saying they want is a box safety. And Jordan, he's a tough dude. That's not what I'm saying, but I just don't know if he would hold up doing that, week after week. I would be surprised if they tried to do that.
What I would, really like to see out of him, and maybe this is something he's working on, because if he can be the slot corner, if he can really work that in, that's such a big position. I think Chris Richard wants a slot guy. It doesn't matter how big you are. On the outside, that's one thing, but on the inside, if you can cover.
Maybe I'm disillusioned because I thought that's what he would be. Like I thought he would be the number 3 corner last year, and he wasn't. He was great against the Saints. It was 8 snaps. His participation dropped from 75% in 2017 to 18%.
And that was probably a jump in that game versus a lot of games he played. A lot of games this season he didn't get on the field very much at all.
The numbers are stark. And I don't think there's this anti-Jordan Lewis agenda. He's a great dude. I think everybody likes him. Chris Richard even said, he's a good player. We've just got these guys above him. But if you can't find a use for him, and I don't think they're trying to push him out the door, but it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to find something for him in the future.
And
a trade,
okay.
Roster cuts.
Yeah.
Hey,
I just wanted you to elaborate on that. Yeah, you meant another team.
Yeah, if somebody else is dead. The Cardinals sent Bené Benwickery here 2 years ago. I could see something similar.
I think one of the issues that's keeping him from playing more is on special teams. He's really not. He hasn't been a good special teams player, and from what I've been told, strength is a problem there. Strength just to fight,
safety's out of the
fight
question.
those double teams as a gunner and all that kind of stuff. So being a safety would be tough.
And going back to what you said about Byron Jones, this training camp, my suspicion is that means that Jordan's probably going to be day one of camp a starting cornerback on this team. So if that's the case, he's going to. You don't think so?
I don't know.
I would be shocked and what I mean by that is one of the top 3. I would be shocked if he's not out there starting day one of training camp, getting reps with the first team defense, at least when they're in nickel. And if that's the case.
If that's the case, then I would bet you he would be the starting slot with Anthony Brown outside.
Right.
You're right.
That's my point.
Yeah, right.
So that being said, I think he's going to have every opportunity to be able to prove the doubters wrong. So let's see what he can do. If he can get out there and show him something, maybe Chris Richard says, this guy's got a little more than I thought he had. If he doesn't, then you're right. Maybe at some point they consider the fact that, especially if one of those young guys steps up, maybe they consider the fact they don't need him on the team.
100% right. Because if you start training camp on the first day and Mike Jackson or Alumba is getting more snaps, then
we know
it's
the writing's on the wall. He's gone. He won't be here beyond this year.
How was he last year at training camp? I cannot remember very well.
He didn't really stand out, in my opinion.
I just remember.
I barely remember anything.
I just remember being like, okay, today they'll give him some reps.
And it did.
Today they'll give him some reps, and I sympathize with fans. They were asking about it, and I was curious about it, and. It's just
really see much.
It's not how the dominoes fell.
But I'm interested to see when they get to camp. I really believe he'll be one of the top 3. And if he's not, like you said, Nick, man, it's not looking good for him.
Not for him, but it'd be good for somebody else.
Yeah.
How you guys say it, the writing is on the wall.
Yes,
the American
that's exactly
term.
how we say it.
It's not nice. It's not there yet.
It's you're starting writing.
We write on the wall here.
Initial.
You paint on the wall. We write on the wall here. That's what we do.
All right. Well, we have to go, guys, because Coach Garrett, I guess he has to get on there and do a press conference. I guess so. We'll see if he says some interesting things. Maybe.
He will.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. For Derek Eagleton, Nikki Mint, David Hellman, Ken Garrison back there, Amber Garcia. This has been The Break on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?